used to live in a pre-Civil War house. I was in the midst of a dream one night, and I was dreaming my dog was pulling on my clothes and pinching my skin with her teeth. I awoke to this being a reality. My dog was waking me up, and she was covered in a gray ash. She was literally gray instead of her natural yellow cover. My room was full of floating gray olive green smoke. My walls were covered in soot. My lungs were full of smoke and residue. I was coughing up black tar, and my tongue was sticking to the roof of my mouth. One more second of sleep, I would have been dead. I rushed my dog and I out of the bedroom and collapsed on the floor coughing. When I was done coughing out a tar-like resin and could somewhat breathe again, I re-entered my room to see smoke still hovering. From the first floor halfway up to the ceiling, it was clear. From there up to the ceiling it was thick, still smoke. After opening up the windows, I noticed, on the little plastic table along my bedside, there was a pile of ashes. This was very strange, considering the night before, I wanted a cigarette, but had no form of fire. I didn't feel like walking upstairs, so I decided to just put the smoke off until tomorrow. There were no matches or lighters in my room. I know for a fact because I looked very hard before sleeping. When I went to touch the first pile of ashes, it disintegrated by the touch of my finger. It was my wallet. The strange thing is, all of the plastic cards like credit cards, license, etc. were cooked along the edges, like they were baked. The only untouched parts of the cards were dime-sized circle in the center of the cards. I also noticed my wallet was not the only thing that was disintegrated pile of ashes. The PlayStation CDs and my cell phone were also a pile of ashes. I thought maybe the battery of the cell phone exploded, but the burn on the tabletop was easily distributed. The burns, or should I say baked in marks on the table, were only under the burnt items. The rest of the surrounding table was untouched and in perfect condition. If it were a normal fire, there would have been wrapping and disfigurement of the flammable, thin, cheap plastic table. I also noticed I had a glass candle holder with no candle in it that was literally melted into the table. The glass was actually melted down. I had oily black soot on my legs and above my head on the wall. This was weird because the suit on me was different than the suit on my dog and the walls. It was very oily like shoe polish. Picture the McDonald's logo. Now vertically cut that M in half. This was the shape of the very dark suit over my head on the wall, like it came out of me or something. The rest of the walls were like light gray ash, like the ash covering my life-saving dog. I actually had a sunburn on the side of my arm and face from the hot fire that occurred. To this day, I still wonder how the suit got under my covers on my body, why it was oily, and why the suit over my head on the wall was darker than the rest of the walls. The fire department came over my house and could not find a source of fire. None at all. They were quite baffled. The firemen told me to buy my dog a bone because she saved my life, and that the fire was more of a flash of heat at least 1200 degrees in order to melt the glass candle holder on my table. He said he hates to use the words, but it is considered spontaneous combustion. It did remind me of a photo I once saw that had a body in it that spontaneously combusted. The body was cooked, but not all of the body was burned. The bed was only burned under the body, like my table in my room. It was only burned under the cooked items. I put the table outside because 1, it creeped me out, and 2, because I grew tired of the volunteers at the fire department, along with the paid firemen, kept calling me and kept wanting me to see the table where the fire took place. Before the fire, my roommate and I saw an orb floating over the cornfield across the street. Who knows if it was related? After the fire, I slept for 2 days. I woke up to find my life go downhill for the next 7 years. Did the fire have something to do with it? Who knows? Did the orbs have something to do with the fire? Who knows? After the fire, I was actually followed by several orbs in different neighborhoods, about 30 miles away. I was with my friend who witnessed the orbs with me. Is it all related? In Ventura, California, there's a home and a business that are haunted. The lady's name, who owns the house, is Linda Vander Wyck. I don't think that she's married. Anyway, in this house, there's a bad spirit and a protective good spirit. The bad spirit tries to burn the house down every now and then, and the good spirit wakes up Linda and leads her to the fire. On the night that Linda moved in, she was asleep and alone when she felt a tap on her shoulder. Linda said that she wasn't scared when she awoke. She walked into the other room and there was a fire going on in her fireplace. Linda hadn't built a fire that night. Then she said that she had words come into her head that she should be very careful about fire in this house. Another time, Linda saw smoke and ran to her front door where the smoke was coming from and found 2 trash cans melted to the ground. The evil ghost had tried several times to burn the house down. Luckily, Linda escapes. One fire started in her room right out of thin air, and another fire started in the attic that almost trapped Linda in the house. Authorities investigating this fire said that it was started on purpose. Linda then took in roommates. Several of her roommates have felt the evilness of the one ghost and the goodness of the second ghost. The evil ghost has been seen by Linda's roommate as a shard man standing at her bedroom door at the same time each night, and the good ghost has been seen sitting in an old chair, a lady in her early 40s, wearing a dress and looking kind and friendly. Even though the charred man keeps trying to burn the house down, Linda won't leave because she feels that the house is charmed because of the good ghost. Linda wanted to find out about the ghost, so she did some investigating throughout the house. Her roommate said that she was terrified to go into the basement because of the scary feelings that it gave her. Linda went down to the basement to see what she could find. Finally, she pulled open a cupboard. Behind it was the beams holding up the rest of the house. They had been in a fire long ago, but the house is still standing. Okay, anyway, Linda called in a ghost hunter who had special equipment, and he was testing the place for energy readings or something of that sort when he tested this old chair. His machine about shorted out because the reading was so strong. This is the same chair that Linda and her roommates have seen the old good lady spirit sitting in. Linda thinks that the shard man is the evil ghost that was burned in the house fire. The ghost hunter says that something pretty awful must have happened, and that this event has left a scar on the house, trapping the shard man here on Earth. Linda found out who the original owner was, and that he also owned a flower shop downtown Ventura. The flower shop has a new owner, and has changed it to the Phantom bookstore. This place is haunted too. He said that books fly from their shelves, and that the doors open and close by themselves. Linda thinks that the owner of both the house and the old flower shop is her charred ghost, but she has no idea who the lady in the early 40s is, who protects her from the charred man. All the same, Linda won't leave because she feels that she is well protected. Creepy, no doubt. I just think that seeing a shard man at my bedroom door every night would be just as scary as seeing Freddy Krueger from the movie Nightmare on Elm Street. I must go now. Happy ghost hunting. And thank you for reading. This is yet another story told to me by my stepfather. It's a little creepy, so hold on to your computer mouse for comfort. About 20 years ago, my stepfather and 2 of his friends were renting an old house in Liverpool, NS, Canada. It was rather remote, I guess, and the locals had tagged it as being haunted. The men scoffed at such notions and moved right in, forgetting all the silly warnings. A month went by with no real problems. Everything seemed calm and serene. One night, however, my stepfather and one of his friends decided to stay up late, light a fire in the fireplace, and sip some cold ones. They assumed the fire was out after dumping soot on it, so they went to bed. At 3 a.m., my stepfather felt something cold, almost icy on his shoulder. He bolted awake, and he could smell something smoldering. What could it be? He just asked himself. Oh no, it must be the fireplace. He raced downstairs and got there just a split second before a big log was just about to roll onto the floor, flames shooting everywhere which way. He ran over and flipped the log back into the fireplace with a pair of tongs. Yet another 2 months went by without any other happenings. One of the guys had a bright idea of using an iron to iron their clothes for work the next morning. Well, they did not unplug the iron. The wiring malfunctioned and blew a fuse. My stepfather was again woken up to the touch of icy fingers on his shoulder and was able to fix the problem without much difficulty. 2 weeks later, he was shuffling through some old things in the ancient attic when he found a diary. It seemed that 50 years before, there had been a girl living in the house named Teresa who had kept a diary when she was about 14. She had watched her drunken father drive over a nearby cliff with his horse and buggy one night, and she went hysterical. Her mother, a cold, unloving creature, decided her daughter was insane and locked her up in the attic, only giving her bread and water once a day. My stepfather turned the diary into a local museum where they told him Teresa had eventually died in her room, where the attic was now. It didn't take long for these grown men to pack their bags and leave. Thanks for reading. So about 2 or 3 years ago, around 2003-ish, I moved into my apartment with my dad. It's a triplex sort of thing, with walls and floors like drums. At first, I looked at it and I loved it. It looked all new, with hardwood floors, freshly painted walls and everything. I never considered why it looked so new, but I found out after we had moved in that there was a crazy old man that used to live in the basement, and he used to set fires like once a month. One time, he got caught in the fire and he burned to death. I actually forgot about it for the first year or so, which is strange for me because I'm a ghost fanatic. Anyway, a few times, all the fire alarms in the building would go off all at once, but seeing as I forgot about the old man, I just thought somebody was cooking or something. One night, my dad was on the computer and I was lying awake in my bed, and all the fire alarms in the front and back stairwells went off. I knew nobody else was awake because there was a brick wall on either side of the house, and if any lights are turned on, it shines on the wall and you can see where the lights are on. So, me and my dad go to the front and back, and as soon as we open the doors to the stairwells, they all turn off. And this would happen once every few months for about 8 months, and it stopped after that. And another thing, I always hear sort of a whistle, a click noise, at 11:18 or 19 p.m. in my room, or in the hall outside my room. Anyway, that's my story. It isn't especially shocking or anything, but whatever. Thanks for reading. I've had no paranormal experiences whatsoever, but I'm telling my mother's true story. Please keep in mind that this is a really short story, so I apologize in advance, but I hope you enjoy it. One night, my dad lit up a cedar log for our wood stove and set it on the top to let it burn a little before putting it in. Well, him and my mom were really tired because we were out and about all day and somehow forgot about the wood. They went to bed, and mom and dad went to bed. Well, my mom was in that state where she was half asleep and half awake when she felt someone nudge her on the back. She turned around, thinking it was me or my sisters. She saw no one and got out of bed to see what was the matter. She saw the log in flames that we set up to 5 feet high and quickly called my dad. But before she could do that, she noticed an apparition by the fire. The apparition was unusual because it looked very fiery, just like the fireplace itself. It was strange, but it was a calming presence. The presence was so warm, and she felt like she could hug it because it was so positive and full of light. Then, the apparition just faded away, with a smile on its face. That's what she noticed. They put out the fire, and Mom told Dad the story. At first, she told my dad that she was shocked by the mere presence of the figure, but she felt a sereneness to it that she couldn't explain. She felt happy around its presence, and that it would make her happy. I'm thinking it was her guardian angel, because they saved us all, and I'm so thankful that the fireman came and saved us. I bet you never heard of the fiery angel. Well, I guess you do now. Thanks for reading. The story I'm about to tell is something that recently happened to myself and my roommate. About a month and a half ago, my friend Margot, now my roommate, had a fire at her apartment. Her apartment building was built around the turn of the century and is situated on the 3rd floor over a barber shop and a wig shop. The halls aren't very well lit, and the landlord at some point painted all the walls a butterscotch brown. For the color of the walls, we can only reason that there must have been a sale somewhere on this paint. I had only been to her apartment after the fire to help her clean up anything that was salvageable. The fire started mysteriously enough in the kitchen near the hot water heater. She noticed smoke and immediately ran around the building to notify the other tenants of the fire. She was dubbed a hero by her local paper. Not realizing how quickly the fire would spread, she took her 2 cats and stuck them into a closet, but when she returned the fire was too out of control to get back in. Despite firefighters' efforts, both cats died during the blaze. It was a devastating loss to her. She moved in with me not long after, and we started making trips over to the burnout apartment to start the cleanup process. I never liked the stairway leading up to her floor. Her apartment was the only one on that floor, and the stairs just gave me the creeps. I was supposed to meet her over there one Saturday afternoon and got tied up doing some other things. When I finally got over there later on in the afternoon, she had already left. It was deathly still and quiet. You could have heard a pin drop despite the fact that several other families inhabited the building. I thought I heard a noise like a door slam on one of the floors below me. I leaned over the balcony to listen and didn't hear any sounds at all. I got kinda spooked and decided to leave. My legs felt like jelly as I descended the staircase. Once Margot got home, I told her about the feeling on the staircase. She said that she felt it on numerous occasions as well. We never felt anything threatening, just a strange feeling. This past Saturday, we got up early to make one of my last many trips to the old apartment. Around 10 a.m., her friend Kathleen came up to join us in the help of labeling boxes and cleaning soot off of different things. Kathleen lived downstairs from Margot, and they had been friends for many years. We were out working in the hallway when it kept feeling like maybe I was coming down with something. I would bend down to do something and lose my balance. Then there were these cold spots. I thought I was getting a fever, but then it would pass. My stomach started to feel a little bit queasy. It was getting towards noontime, and we decided to break for lunch. I associated how I was feeling with the fact that I had 2 cups of coffee on an empty stomach. Once I had some fresh air and some food in my stomach, I started to feel a lot better. The 3 of us continued back to finish the work we still had left in the apartment. Once I reached the 3rd staircase, the feeling came back over me like a wave. I started to feel disoriented and dizzy. I tried to put it aside and went along my business of packing things up in the back room with Kathleen. Margot was doing something in the kitchen when I heard her call for me. I went into the burnout kitchen. That is where the fire started, and the room is completely black with soot. The large windows are now boarded up, and the old stove is now turned over. As I walked into the room, I could feel the goosebumps rising on my arms and all the hair stand up on the back of my neck. Chills ran down my body, and I felt another wave of dizziness and nausea came over me. She asked if I could feel it. I started backing out of the room, and then I broke out into tears. It was like standing in the presence of something very big and very pissed off. I didn't see anything, but it was like the air in the room was alive, or dead. I told her I couldn't stay there. Kathleen was still working in the back room and didn't hear what was going on. Margot and I raced down the stairs into the parking lot behind the building. As soon as I stepped outside, I lost my lunch. She was coughing and gagging. She said loudly, "What the hell was that?" I said I didn't know, but it didn't seem to be too happy. She had lived there for 10 years and never had experienced anything like that. In all my 30 years, I don't think I've ever felt something so strongly negative. The last time I sensed a presence like that was in a restaurant ladies' room at an old building in San Jose, California about a year ago. Then there was the time before that, when I was about 14, but that's another story for another day. I was worried about Kathleen, who was still alone and unaware of what had just happened. Margot didn't want to scare her where she still lived in the building. She also said that she didn't think Kathleen was in tune with that kind of stuff. I sat down on the pavement and caught my breath. Margot lit a cigarette. We were both shaking and felt very strange. It took a long time to feel normal. It was like this negative presence had permeated over our beings, and it slowly faded after a while. We decided to go back in, grab a few boxes we were taking with us, and get the hell out of there. I took a deep breath, and then I blessed myself before entering the apartment. We got to the top of the staircase, and I knew it was still there. I said out loud that whatever it was still there. Margot said she could still feel it. I walked into what used to be her bedroom and avoided looking into the kitchen at all costs. I grabbed some boxes and headed down the stairs. She said she would meet me downstairs. Kathleen still had no clue to what was going on. I tried to get myself down the dimly lit staircase, all the while fighting the feeling that I was going to be pushed from behind. A few minutes later, a very nervous Margot and an unaware Kathleen came down to the stairs with stuff to load into the car. The 3 of us went back to my house, and we didn't bring it up again until the next day. On Sunday morning, Margot and I sat at the kitchen table drinking our coffee and discussing what happened the day before. I asked her when she noticed that something was odd. She said she had been in the kitchen trying up a trash bag when she just got a weird feeling that she was being watched. She said there was a shadow against the boarded up window. She said it was very large and dark. She thought maybe it was her own shadow until she moved and the shadow didn't. That's when she called me into the room. After I'd left the building, she told me she was tossing boxes over the balcony right outside her apartment door when she felt someone shove her as she leaned over the railing. She got the rest of her things, locked up, and got the hell out. Right after that, we both came down with what I can only describe as the flu, complete with fever and other flu-like symptoms. It has since faded. My roommate is over at the apartment as I type this. Luckily, her dad is with her, and she brought over a couple of religious items for protection, including holy water. On Monday morning, I awoke from a restless night of sleep. I was dreaming about her apartment. I was up above and looking down at her as she was throwing boxes over the side of the balcony. It was very vivid, although not very scary. Then I was helping a very old lady down the stairs. It was all strange. Margot got up not long after and said she had a terrible night's sleep. She also had been dreaming about the apartment but wouldn't elaborate on what she dreamt. What or why it happened, we don't know. The town she lived in is very rich in history, and from what I've heard, the Historical Society has taken very good records of the town over the years. We're thinking of doing research on the building, and I'll post anything we find. One thing we did find strange was that Kathleen's grandmother has lived in the apartment building for 50 years, and when asked about the past of the building, she refuses to talk about it. Anyway, that's my story. Strange but true. What I want to know is if any other readers have experienced this feeling of being sick or being disoriented after a run-in with the paranormal. When I started crying after leaving the kitchen, I felt extremely sad, and I had been in a pretty good mood all morning. Any ideas? Thanks again for reading. Hey guys, Phantom of Darkness here, and what do you think of these stories? Honestly, I thought they were pretty lit. Ha 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 ha, puns. No, but seriously guys, go ahead and share this video because if you don't share it, then it's not going to get out to as many people as possible. I know I sound really sarcastic when I'm speaking in this tone, but seriously guys, no, sharing means a lot, and it does take the video to new heights that we've never seen before. Well, only my video. Anyway, but you get what I mean. So I just wanted to say thank you guys so much. Don't forget to leave a like on this video, comment below. Let me know if you're driving in the car right now. Otherwise, I'm going to act really crazy because if you are driving in the car and there's traffic going on and you're listening to this, it's the perfect opportunity for people to look at you crazy and say, who is this guy you're talking to? Because this is the infinite podcast of epic proportions, and by golly, I'll be the guy you want to listen to every night before you go to bed, and maybe driving, don't fall asleep at the wheel, I don't know what I'm saying. Okay guys, good night, good morning, and I'll see you in the next video. Love you as always, and remember to drive safe. Don't get in a car crash because of me, I'd feel bad, yeah, sorry, bye.